Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 9 of Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So I guess we just get a nice little recap here of Sayaka finally succumbing to despair. And I guess at this point we're also saddled with the truth that magical girls who don't meet an untimely death are destined to become witches. Of course, it seems like Kyoka doesn't necessarily know this. You know, she's still intent on saving Sayaka. So all the surreal stuff is coming back into play here, and this time it's themed around music and trains and stuff like that, and a weird kind of mishmash. Although of all the surreal stuff, I think the creepiest bit is that the witch's screams are Sayaka's voice actor, and it's rather haunting. So interestingly, we also finally get a concrete demonstration of what Homura can do here. And it turns out freezing time is merely, I guess, one thing she can do. You know, presumably there's more, but this is what she makes big use of all the time. Man, you know, it really seems like all those flies clustered around a streetlight in the shape of a skull is no coincidence. Things are definitely very bleak at this point, you know. If Sayaka is not actually dead, she might as well be, considering she's now a witch. Of course, that's small comfort to anyone. I guess worst of all, Madoka didn't witness any of this, so she's just sort of learning the horrific truth. I mean, something tells me that Homura knows a bit more about what precisely happened, but she's sort of fudging it a little bit. Well, I take that back. She's just laying the whole thing out in front of everyone. And I guess, you know, this seems to be news to Kyoka as well as Madoka. Now, I guess I have to admire both Kyoka and Homura's fortitude in that the realization that they are effectively doomed is not enough to transform them to begin with. I'd imagine not very many people could withstand a revelation like that if they were in a position to fall victim to it. Alright, so after that sort of outburst of emotion last episode, Homer has gone back to being rather unexpressive. And I feel like that's really not the right approach here. Kyoko's right. A little bit of, I guess, bedside manner would not be amiss here. You could try and at least temper the truth a little bit. Once again, she really seems to be a little too quick to discard her humanity. I feel like she wouldn't be endeavoring in whatever it is she's trying to do if she had fully given up on humanity. Oh, I know this. You don't invite them in. If they ask, you tell them to wait outside and come back with a warrant. But nevertheless, Kyubey comes in anyways. So, there's something else that's kind of weird that I'm just sort of now noticing, in that Kyubey seems to talk with we and our and things like that. I'm wondering if he actually has, a sense of individuality, or if he's just, I don't know, sort of like what he appeared to be before, one mind and many bodies, how he was able to essentially get riddled with bullets and then, eat his own corpse. So I'm wondering if he's sort of like a hive mind, or he just has no sense of individuality, or what the deal is here. I mean, he's still laying out some pretty heavy stuff here. Essentially, the heat death of the universe is imminent, but they've found a way to sort of stave off entropy, and that's, in essence, by causing, prepubescent girls to suffer. I mean, not prepubescent, maybe pubescent is the appropriate term. Middle school age, early teens. Yeah. So, Kyubey lays it right out. If you make middle school age girls suffer, then you can stave off the heat death of the universe indefinitely. It's just so simple. Of course, he never really goes into the mechanism of how precisely he collects this energy, but I guess they don't really need to spell out the whole thing. I guess it's a revelation enough that this is taking on essentially a cosmic scale here. And Kyubey is such a monster, making a utilitarian argument here. Your sacrifice, which we are imposing upon you, is for the good of everyone else, and we have decided this. And there it is, it's all consensual, wink wink, nudge nudge, we don't tell you the fine print. So I guess part of it is that Kyubey generally seems not to understand the concept of tricking people. He's just not telling you everything. That's not lying. Of course, it is for humans. Yeah, he really is talking like a utilitarian, like an ant, something that has no regard for the individual. And so even after all of this, he's still trying to coach her into becoming a magical girl, because all the energy she would give up would be absolutely incredible, but, he's not exactly winning her over by telling her everything that he is. Of course, it's not like he could even really understand that, I don't think. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. Kyubey is saying, in response to Kyoka's question, that if there is a way, I don't know of it. It seems to me that he's not lying, but he's not being truthful either. I think he's pretty darn sure there is no way to achieve what she wants, but he's not outright saying that. He's saying, well, technically it is possible. This might be a ploy on his part, present a little bit of hope so you can create more despair and therefore energy. Oh dear. Hitomi doesn't even know anything that's going on. In a way, I feel kind of bad for her in that, she really doesn't know anything about anything, and therefore her words, which to Madoka and the viewers seem a bit insensitive, she's not saying them to be insensitive, she just genuinely doesn't know. Of course, it doesn't really help that Madoka is seemingly acting all flighty now. Granted, she has good reasons for it. It's kind of weird in a way how Kyoka is now so willing to work with other people. Yeah, it really took the death of someone she seemingly kind of cared about to sort of kick her in the butt and get her to actually do something. So here's part of the problem. She's spreading that hope, That can be a bit of a dangerous thing, especially when it's not really founded on anything. Well, not that it's founded on nothing, but it's founded on the words of a known liar. So I guess in theory, Kyoka's got a reasonable idea here in that maybe Madoka could help, considering Sayaka was her best friend. But, she's really going out on a limb here. It seems like the way she's talking, what if we killed the witch but Sayaka's soul gem popped out, That seems like an awful risk to take when this is a horribly uncertain venture to begin with. And it is unfortunate for Kyoka that Sayaka had sort of, in a sense, snapped her out of her nihilism to some degree. She's now willing to do good things, but it really does seem like, on all accounts, she is too late to do anything meaningful. So, to Madoka's credit, she's willing to help and make an introduction and potentially make a new friend, but it really does seem like the whole thing will be in vain. I can't imagine there would be any sort of good outcome here. So, Madoka has a good idea here in that perhaps they should enlist Homura to help as well, but I think Kyoka's right in that she probably wouldn't. And I'm thinking that this is because Homura knows it's a fruitless venture. Nothing good will be gained from it, so, you shouldn't even bother. So now Madoka's becoming unfortunately privy to just how horrible things are about to become. Walpurgis Nacht is on its way here, and it's so strong that no one magical girl will be able to solve the problem. And, to be fair, I don't think it's even guaranteed that Kyoka and Homura working together could do it. But granted, the two of them together have a far better chance than any one of them alone. Man, I feel like this is a really excessively dangerous thing to do. Venturing into the territory of a witch while being a normal person, especially when you're essentially trying to save your friend. And it's not even certain you can save your friend at that. I'd feel if there were any time to make a contract, this would probably be it. I mean, knowing what I do know, that's not the good outcome here. You don't want to do that, but I don't know, just putting myself in Madoka's shoes. So I guess thankfully, Kyoka's talking a bit of sense into Madoka. Don't throw away the good life you have to become a magical girl. Especially if you're doing it on a whim. Man, finally someone talking some sense. That's a very reasoned approach here. Don't do it on a whim, but if there truly are no other options, then consider it, but not until then. And it seems to me that's a little bit of foreshadowing, too. I feel like Madoka's back is going to be pressed up against the wall in pretty short order. So it seems like the witch formerly known as Sayaka has changed and evolved a bit. Now she's sort of like, I guess, conducting a symphony orchestra. It seems like for all their efforts, they're not really making any progress. The witch is really only just attacking and trying to kill them. I feel for them a bit because they're trying to save a friend, but they don't quite realize that it's just not feasible. They really are in sort of an untenable position. Sayaka, she can just batter them to death and she doesn't really care about it. Kyoka has to fight defensively to protect Madoka, and Madoka has to, work to try and snap Sayaka out of this. It's interesting that Kyoka brings up the first conflict she had with Sayaka, in that no matter how many times she knocked her down, Sayaka would get back up. And this is basically, I guess, the inverse of that, in that Kyoka is now in a position where she has to continually get up over and over again. Thinking about it a little bit more, this is an interesting inversion in that Kyoka is now sort of acting idealistically. Man, the situation really isn't very good, is it? Homer has shown up just in time to save Madoka, but it seems like she's also just in time to watch Kyoka do something reckless and suicidal. I guess it's interesting in a sense that Homura is now vindicated in some of the things she has said to Sayaka. But on the other hand, considering that she's decided to take Sayaka with her, it's definitely bittersweet, a Pyrrhic victory at best. I guess if there's any bright side to this, it's that Sayaka had found a way to get out of things without also turning into a witch. She had managed to die on her own terms, essentially. Oh boy. Yep, there we have it. Homura asks a question and gets an unfortunate answer. Man, Kibe really is a monster. He sort of seeded this whole situation in order to ensure that only Homura would be around to fight Walpurgis Nacht, and that Madoka will have to make a contract in order to help her. He really is an evil monster. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.